Hey, Danny, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, doing well. Tell me about what you do at Havas.
So right now I oversee the Dish account. So we have all the digital channels. I have paid search, display, social, analytics, and I work very closely with our creative team. So creative and media is all together as a village solution for Dish.
Got it. So 2014, Danny, is a really powerful year for you. So I'm going to go back to starting in 2006. You got some recognition, but always a bridesmaid, never a bride here. Let's see, you were nominated for OMA's Rising Stars by SMG in 06. In 08, you were a finalist for Ad Color's Changed Agent Award, nominated by Google. In 2012, you were a finalist for Chicago Interactive Media Association's Digital Person of the Year in 2011 and 2012, right? But then it all changed for you in 2014 when you became the Media Person of the Year from Chicago Interactive Media Association, Marketing Association. Congratulations.
Thank you. There's a running joke that I'm like the Susan Lucci of the Chicago market. So, you know, she finally got her Oscar or Emmy, and I finally got the award.
You finally got the recognition you deserve.
Yeah.
Excellent. How is that going to change? Are you taking a long vacation now, or are you really going to celebrate this award?
What I did first, honestly, was I actually wrote emails to each of my mentors that has touched my career. So it's not often that you find a search guy, and search is my DNA, that's now leading a business, right, on the agency side. So I did 12 years of search marketing. And he says search can't be sexy, right? So
that's right.
It's a testament that you can really be as diverse with your background and really lead an account across all channels. So that's the one thing I'm most proud of. That's the first thing I did was actually express my gratitude to all of my previous mentors who actually been great leaders for me.
That's fantastic. And I think one of the things that you've touched upon is the idea of being starting from search, and you've been able to evolve that into something that I really loved in your bio called a Mosaic digital marketer. Tell me what you mean by that, because I think it's a wonderful phrase.
Yeah, so Mosaic is basically, if you look at the art, it's a blank canvas, but it becomes a beautiful piece of art, right? So I think being able to look at so many different things from a different perspective and views and finding opportunities is really what that means to me, and having the ability to mine for insights and information, but making it usable and not just regurgitating stats, right? So I think it's really that ability to storytell, right, based on all the data and information that you have at hand.
So does the data that you have access to, does that drive the story you're going to tell, or does the story then drive the data that you need?
You know, it's like a Yin Yang Effect, so it's both, right? So I think the data that you're mining for, that you're doing the research, helps to create the story. And then once you have the story in place, it's like you choose your own adventure story, right? So as you make a decision, something else happens, so you're mining for even more information. So I think it's a journey and a process. So it's something that's I think marketers need to do more of, you know, especially with the ability to do things in real time now.
Got it. Do you see, so for a brand like Dish, are you telling a story, a blanket story across all touch points, or do you find that you need to be more platform committed in your storytelling?
Well, we're all about trying to integrate and consolidate with Dish, right? I think there's many different needs and triggers for consumers. So being able to tell that story holistically makes a big impact, right? Because Dish isn't something that you buy on the shelf or, you know, an easy decision. It's a commitment, right? And it's a 2-year contract commitment. So that's why that whole storytelling is important, and the integration is important as well.
Right. What's key for you in telling that story? Take me really deep into it. Like, how do you decide how you know what that story is that you're going to tell? Where do those insights come from?
You know, I think a lot of it is really looking at the consumer and the consumer needs and triggers, right, and their lifestyles.
So you're segmenting out all these consumers and saying we have to tell a different story to each one of these groups?
Absolutely, and being able to do it in a meaningful way that's with purpose, right? So, and really connecting with them at the right time, especially with need states, right? So if you look at something like movers, for instance, right? Like, what's the first thing you do when you move?
Movers, so people who are moving from one place to another.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, they have different...
Not the actual movers, the guys who carry the stuff.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
Like people who are moving. So they have different needs, and the way you communicate to them is very differently than someone who's fed up with their pay TV providers, right? So
Got it.
You have to understand what's triggered, what are those triggers to really convey that message.
Right, but that message can't be told purely, right? It's going to bleed from one group to another. So how do you deal with that kind of muddying sometimes of where people are getting their story from and what the story is being told on each platform?
Well, that's why I'm in digital and not in traditional, right? Because you can target a lot better. I think there's a lot more flexibility. There's the agility and speed of reaching them and delivering different message. I always tell my clients that digital is your biggest focus group. So, instead of spending all these money on these micro focus groups of like 50 people, test it out in digital, right? That's your biggest focus group. And you can do it for relatively inexpensive and garner a whole lot of data. And that'll help you kind of save costs with production. If you look at some of these brands who are pulling back their commercials because it's not doing well, and then they have to use old commercials or whatever, use digital as a focus group to kind of see what message resonates well, and then you can make a bigger initiative out of it.